Hello, this is Tarregor. Welcome to my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus. The design direction of my vision of Classic Plus is substantially different from that of Retail WoW Circuit Shadowlands and new private servers Vanilla Plus and Turtle WoW. This is partially because the standards to fix Vanilla WoW's many problems first, Flash Channel polish already there second, and add new content third. To document this is part of a playlist of videos. Check this video description for a link to the playlist. The document displays my vision of Classic Plus, and the document's version number is 1.5.15. All versions of the document are based upon patch 1.12.2 of World of Warcraft, the one before the Burning Crusade pre-patch. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of Classic Plus before you, other way of looking into this, then watch the introduction video in this playlist, or read the document yourself, and look at the list of major features. The link to the document is in my channel's About page. That, and I do not have a team of people, however, working with me to make an actual private server out of this. This is all pure design thus far, and it ain't done yet. Note that most of this game's items are pending re-optimization, though I have laid out the groundwork for it. Know also that a bunch of the drop changes are actually more related to other subsections, so section number 3 items, than to the drop changes subsection. And I actually haven't gotten around to copying and pasting all the changes into here. A few examples to think of off the top of my head are all tier tokens or places of the actual items that the tier tokens correspond to, which of course means multiple items, not all at once. And the associated, I don't want to say currencies, shit like crystal scarabs and Zolgrub coins are gone, and War-Torn scrap's gone. Stuff like that. Anyway, that's all I can really think of at the top of my head right now. Anyway, the rest of the drop changes that are mentioned in this section at least. The ones mentioned in this section at least. An NPC's loot or container's loot will be generated when it is first looted, rather than when a container or NPC spawns. This will theoretically prevent exploiters from forcing certain loot to drop from dungeons and raids. All books that grant class spells will only drop from specific mobs and such or otherwise be changed as follows. Guide Servant Stain 9 will drop from Ileana Ravenoak instead of Encourage. It does say only drop from specific mobs. Guide of Multi-Shot 5 will drop from Blood Axe Raiders. Guide of Aspect of the Hawk 7 will drop from Scar Shield Raiders. Tome of Tranquilizing Shot will be renamed to Guide Tranquilizing Shot, and it will drop from Houndmaster Grebnar, and it'll be learnable level 50. Tome of Arcane Missiles 8 will drop from Dark Master Gambling. Tome of Fireball 12 will drop from Cho'Rush the Observer, Mage. That is, when Cho'Rush is a mage and not a priest or a warlock. Tome of Frostbolt 11 will drop from the Lucky the Paladin. Yeah, I got distracted. Manual Battle Shout 7 will drop from Rand Blackhand. Manual of Revenge 6 will drop from Blackguard Sentries, who will be taught to spell Revenge. Manual of Heroic Strike 9 will drop from sub-mobs in Ruins of Andorhal. Which, by the way, is going to be an instanced 10-man raid. I went over that in a different video. Manual of Eviscerate 9 will be renamed to Handbook of Eviscerate 9. Handbook of Backstab 9 will drop from Wildspawn Shadowstalkers. Handbook of Deadly Poison 5 will drop from Wildspawn Rogues. Handbook of Fate 5 will drop from some NPC and Deathfall. I went over that in a different video. That's a new dungeon, a new 10-man arena I'm adding. Yes, the ghost ones will exist. I'll go over that in a different video. Codex of Greater Hill 10 will drop from Cho'Rush the Observer when he is a priest. Codex of New 10 will drop from Instructor Militia. Codex of Prayer of Healing 5 will drop from Princess Moria Bronzebeard. Grimoire of Inferno and Grimoire of Doom will both be removed from the game. Warlocks will have to actually do those class quests in order to learn those spells. The relevant class quests. Grimoire of Corruption 7 will drop from some mob in Ruins of Andorhal. Grimoire of Immolate 7 will drop from Molten War Golems. Grimoire of Shadow Ward 4 will drop from some mob of Deathfall. Tablet of Flame Shock 6 will also drop for the lines if it had not before. I forget if it did. Something to throw up on the neutral auction house. Tableau of Grace and Very Stone 3 will also drop from, will only drop from Troash Observer Champ when he is a shaman. That's right, I forgot. I actually forget if you said ever Warlock or not. But anyway, it'll drop for Trojan, 0 when he's enchantment, and it'll drop for both the Alliance and the Horde. I forget off the top of my head anyway. Tablet of Healing Wave 10 will drop from Corv, and it'll drop for both the Alliance and the Horde. Corv, the Dungeon 2 boss of the Blackrock Business Arena. Now Dungeon 1 boss, because I turned it into the Dungeon 1 quest chain instead of Dungeon 2 quest chain. Dungeon 2 no longer exists. Now it's all Dungeon 1. All the items are obtained from new quests, and not from the mobs that used to drop them. Anyway, Tablet of Strength of Earth, Totem 5 will drop for Inspired Sun Mystic, so... Where's my cursor? Know the spell, and it'll drop for both the Alliance and the Horde. Libram of Blessing of Might. Oh, that's right. Choash never becomes a Warlock. He becomes a champion instead. I remember now. Okay. Libram Blessing of Might 7 will drop from Crimson Galleons, and it'll drop for both the Alliance and the Horde. Libram Blessing of Wisdom 6 will drop from Nallard to Zealous, and it'll drop for both the Alliance and the Horde. Libram of Holy Light 9 will drop from Crimson Defenders, and it'll drop from both the Alliance and the Horde. Designed out, I want all class bucks from 10/20 man raids to be split evenly across the raids. By the way, all those dungeons that I mentioned, they're now either 10 man raids or 20 man raids. All the dungeons that are relevant to what I mentioned are all either 10 man raids or 20 man raids, except for the outer portion of Blackrock Path, so I did not find a Shadowforge lock that's still a 5-man dungeon. Low 50s 5-man. Book of Boomblast 7, formerly Book of Starblast 7. Starfire 7 will drop on board Greyhook. I renamed the spell Starfire to Moonblast because I decided that druids do not because I decided that Elune does not control the stars. She just controls herself, the moon, which is only one of Azeroth's moons, mind you. Healing Touch 9 will drop in Stallion. Off the top of my head, the other moon is called the Blue Child. Yeah, Healing Touch 9 will drop from the Stallion. In Book of Rejuvenation, 9 will drop from Eldritch Dardos, who will know the spell Rejuvenation. A change that's kind of tentative. The following raid bosses will only drop 2 pieces of equipable or legendary raid exclusive loot, excluding quest items that are not quest starting items. Soulgrub's High Priest, Gazranka, Lucifron, Gehennis, Shazra, Sulfuron Highbreaker, Magadar, Golmag the Incinerator, Anixia, the Nightmare Dragons, Azagos, Lord Gazak, and the Twilight Lords, and the Contemplars. Bosses that drop quest starting items will always drop said items, which will count as 1 and 2 items that they can drop. Abyssal Scepter / quest counts, but not Sulfuron Ignat, Mature Black Dragon Sinew, or the Anixia Hide Bag. So Anixia can drop up to 4 items, including her head, the bag, and its Sinew. The following raid bosses will only drop 3 pieces of equipable or legendary raid exclusive loot, excluding quest items that are not quest starting items. Bloodlord Mancadir, Jinno the Hexer, the Age of Madness bosses, Hekar, Gar, Baron Gadon, Majordome Executives, Ragnaros, and a very Blackwing Glare boss. Bosses that can only drop bosses that can drop quest starting items in the first place will always drop said items, which will count as only 3 items that they can drop. Hey, wait a second. Oh, they can drop up to 3 items, including your head, the bag, and its Sinew. Okay. Wait. Banana Sulfuron. Okay, yeah. Including your head, the bag, and its Sinew. And a 4th item from her loot table. Ugh, how did I fuck up that part? Anyway, before I go over the rest of these, do note that all raids, Hard and Molten Core, as well as Molten Core, were turned into had all their loot squished down to Island level 65 and are turned into Tier 1 raids. Zolgarub and AQ20 also received the same treatment. They are Tier 1 40-man raids. They are also all going to be very pretty hard. And you're not going to be able to just cheese them with world buffs because those got massively nerfed. So, furthermore, you're only going to be able to do 2 40-man raids per week, not including Anixia. And AQ40 will have a 1 week. Excuse me. And AQ40 is going to have it's going to occupy 2. AQ40 is going to require 2 raid resets to do, and Nax will require 2 raid resets to do, in addition to being a 2-week lockout instead of a 1-week lockout, just because Nax gives you so much more loot than all the other raids, in part because of that. And AQ40 also gives you so much more loot than any other raids, but not as much as Nax. Anyway, moving on. Anyway, this is why I'm making some raid bosses drop more loot than others, so that people can get the same amount of raid loot from 40-man raids, not including world bosses, per week. Anyway, moving on. I really should have mentioned that before I went over these changes, but I just remembered, and I don't feel like re-recording this. Anyway, the following raid bosses will drop only 4 pieces of equipable or legendary raid exclusive loot, excluding quest items and not quest items. Every AQ20 boss, the Prophet's Garam, the Bug Trio, Battleguard Sartura, Fankris the Unyielding, Fiskidus, Princess of Theophron, Emperor Veclor, and Emperor Vecnilosh. That's 4 for each Emperor. Bosses that drop quest items will always drop set items, which will count as only 4 items that can drop. The following raid bosses will only drop 6 pieces of equipable or legendary raid exclusive loot, excluding quest items that are not quest items. Enuber Khan, Grand Oak Fairlia, Not the Plague Rigger, Hagen the Unclean, Instructor Zuvius, Guthling Harvester, Patchwork, Gravilos, Gluff, Maxina, Loatheb, the Four Horsemen, and Thaddeus. Also, your drop quest items will always drop set items, which will count as 26 items that can drop. By the way, in AQ40, all fucking raids in general, I'm going to be modifying how big the loot tables are for each raid boss, according to how many items the raid boss can drop at a time. So, for example, these bosses that can drop 8 items at a time, they're going to have very big loot tables with very many items on it that are not shared. Anyway, moving on. The following raid bosses will only drop 8 pieces of equipable or legendary raid exclusive loot, excluding quest items and not quest starting items. Oro and Cthulhu. Bosses that can drop quest starting items will always drop set items, which will count as 28 items that they can drop. The following raid bosses will only drop 9 pieces of equipable or legendary raid exclusive loot, excluding quest items that are not quest starting items. Saffron and Kel'Thuzad. Bosses that drop quest starting items will always drop set items, which will count as 1 to 9 items that can drop. The drop changes to Punch and Voodoo Dolls, 20 piles, and Zolgorov will be greatly reduced since they are no longer needed for Zolgorov hits. Let's like a chance since sales were removed from the game and replaced with completely different enchants from completely different sources. Non-player characters in and around the Black Diamonds will no longer drop Black Diamonds anymore often than they drop other gems, which will greatly increase the value of Black Diamonds. Dramatically increase the value of Black Diamonds. Small flame sacks will only drop from red, black, and chromatic dragon because other dragons do not breathe fire. Blood of Heroes will no longer be looted from the Blood of Heroes object. It'll instead be looted from Fallen Heroes themselves instead with a 75% drop rate. You'll still have to loot the Blood of Heroes object, which has no loot in order to make the Fallen Heroes spawn. All Infernals, including some of the Infernals, will be given a 5% chance to drop an Infernal Stone because of the Manics. Iron Tree Stompers and Wanderers will have a 1% chance when it's slain to drop an Ironwood Seed because of the Manics. Ironwood Seed is the, if I recall correctly, the regent for the Max Ranks Rebirth. For Max Rank Rebirth, the Druid Res, yeah. The Dark Crowns and Tears Foul Glades will no longer drop Stringy Wolf Meat because they're not wolves. They are Dark Hounds. That's completely different. Red Wolf Meat will no longer be dropped by Steel Snap, Starving Bonepaws, Tracking Hounds, Giggler, Bonepaw Hyenas, Rabbit Bonepaws, Mordline Bonepaws, Nagrin Bonepaws, Starving Blitzerpaws, Murderous Blitzerpaws, the rare spawn, Blitzerpaw Hyenas, Starving Snickerfangs, Rabbit Blitzerpaws, Snickerfang Hyenas, Bloodhounds, Gordok Hyenas, Plaguehound Runts, Bloodhound Masses, Derek, Plaguehounds, Frenzied Plaguehounds, or Blighthounds because they are not exactly canines, they are hyenas. Hyenas are technically felines if I recall correctly. Anyway, Red Wolf Meat will no longer be dropped at level 40 to 63 wolves. They'll drop more Tender Wolf Meat instead. Tender Wolf Meat will no longer be dropped by Starving Blitzerpaws, Murderous Blitzerpaw Hyenas, Starving Snickerfangs, Rabbit Blitzerpaws, Snickerfang Hyenas, Bloodhounds, Gordok Hyenas, or Plaguehound Runts, Plaguehound Massives, Varric, Plaguehounds, Frenzied Plaguehounds, or Blighthounds because they are not exactly canines. Again, they are technically felines. Though, no, they are not in the same pet family as cats, they're in the pet family of hyenas. Anyway, level 20 to 35 spiders and scorpions will no longer drop large venom sacks. They'll drop regular venom sack instead. Level 36 and 49 poisonous spiders, scorpions, insects, and cryptines will be capable of dropping large venom sacs, which will be usable to make a new item called Potent Anti-Venom, which dispels up to level 50 poisons. 50. Not 15. Speaking of which, large venom sacs will also vendor for an indeterminately higher amount of cash. The drop rates of items such as epic items that drop exclusively from dungeons and 10/20 main raids, but not established players chained, will be set to about 1% so that these are realistically obtainable, or in case of chromatic carapace, it won't drop too often instead. The components and soul stories will still have a drop rate of 10%, subject to recalculation, even though the product is only level 55 epic item. The drop rate of Darwin's Sacred Charge will be increased to that of Darwin's Tribal Guardian, and the drop rate of everything else that Rand drops except for Fell Striker will be decreased accordingly. The drop rate of Postmaster's Band will be increased to that of the other pieces of the set, and the other items that Postmaster Golden drops will be increased accordingly. The Corrupted Ashbringer will be turned into a quest item of a 100% drop rate. It will be a legendary item that requires level 62 to equip, therefore you cannot equip it, and it can be turned into Lightstone Chapel for epic quests, for epic rewards. Ooh. Design note as the Warcraft War system reference, I feel I'm making conflict with this. Off the top of my head, it does, but I'll change that later. Yeah, I'm trying to make a tabletop fan game out of Warcraft, out of the concept of Warcraft, and just make it a sequel to this game. But I'll go over that in the distant future. I still haven't gotten all the base game mechanics written down yet, but I do have ideas for them. Anyway, raid exclusive items that are required to obtain legendary weapons will generally have a drop chance of about 1% in order to make them be closer to actually being legendary, unlike in Classic Godfluster, where every third warrior had a Sulfuros, Thunder Fury, or both. All elementals and various living and undead creatures are capable of dropping elemental regens and such and whatnot. We'll drop elemental regens according to the drop rate formulae. In this case, Heart of the Wild, Living Essence, Ichor of Undeath, and Essence of Undeath are counted as elemental regens. Elemental Earth/Water/Air drop chances. For level 1 to 15 mobs, 0% as before. Level 16 to 39 mobs, drop rate equals level divided by 8%. Excuse me, NPC level divided by 8%. Level 40 to 49 mobs, drop rate is NPC level divided by 10%. 50 to 63 mobs, drop rate is NPC level divided by 12%. Core Earth, Heart of Fire, Global Water, Breath of Air, Heart of the Wild, and Ichor of Undeath drop rates. Level 1 to 39 mobs, 0% as before. Level 40 to 49 mobs, NPC level divided by 10% as before. Level 50 to 63 mobs, NPC level divided by 12% as before. Essence of Earth/Fire/Water/Air/Living Essence drop chances. Level 1 to 49 mobs, drop rate of 0% as before. Level 50 to 63 mobs, drop rate is level divided by 3. Is NPC level divided by 36%. The above values are multiplied. All of these values are multiplied by 2 for regular elite mobs, by 10 for 5-man dungeon bosses, by 3 for 10-man raid elite mobs, by 15 for 10-man raid bosses, by 4 for 20-man raid elite mobs, by 20 for 20-man raid bosses, by 10 for 40-man raid elite mobs, by 40 for 40-man raid bosses that are not Ragnaros, and by 120 for Ragnaros. These changes can potentially affect how many elemental regen a mob has on the table, should the chance go above 100%. These changes will notably make it be much less profitable than before to farm the elementals in the Urarti Highlands, so they'll still be worth farming at level 60 due to how easy you just kill them. Did I hit the insert button? Hold on. Okay, good. I hit it twice instead of the accidental once. Tier 1 bracers and belts will be buy on pickup. AQ20 exclusive equipable trash drops, such as Hell of Latent Power, if I recall correctly, that's one of them, if I remember right, will be BOP. They'll all be buy on pickup items. Fireball might drop to. By the way, all blue trash drops for all blue items in Dull Grub and AQ20 are going to be epic items now. Item level 65 epics, including the trash drops. Fireball might drop tier 2 gloves more often than before. I haven't decided yet. Ebon Rock will no longer drop tier 2 gloves, but instead drop tier 2 helms. Flankor will no longer drop tier 2 gloves, but instead drop tier 2 pants. Anaxia will no longer drop tier 2 helms. Ragnaros will no longer drop tier 2 pants. Azagos will no longer drop Eshkandar's left claw. It'll instead drop off something else drops corrupt, and so declare will be an level 65 epic item. Nobody should have to do world boss in order to complete a set of items that does not come exclusively from world bosses. Lord Kazak will no longer drop Eshkandar's pelts. It'll instead drop a Bloodcore Mankadir, and so the pelt will be an level 65 epic item. And Balthazar will no longer drop Bookity Dead. It'll be dropped like Cormac instead. Balthazar is instead going to drop an epic trinket, which is contained in the thumbnail of one of my other videos called Thank You Dreadlord. And that's all I got for drop changes. Thanks for watching.